Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte. We are taking a look today at the preview of the 2021 NHL entry draft. We'll be going over all of that in this video. So, we are in store for a long one. So, get your popcorn, your peanuts, candy, whatever it is. We have a long video today as we're going to go over each and every one of the 31 NHL draft picks in the first round. So this is our final mock draft. And you may be saying to yourself, Kevin, there's 32 teams in the NHL. There's 32 draft picks in the first round. And you would be wrong because the Arizona Coyotes have had their first round pick revoked. So they forfeited it because of illegal scouting practices under John Chayka and the old ownership. So there is 31 draft picks. So before anybody says anything about that, cool it off, all right? Second thing, my picks. Everybody's picks. You go on Sportsnet. You go to the Hockey Writers. You go to TSN. You go to the NHL.com. You go to all these different people on the Athletic. Everybody has a different mock draft. From picks 2 to 31, it's all over the place. And we are going to start off at number 31. We're going to go quicker with the lower tier guys, and we'll go a little bit quicker, as a little bit slower and deeper diving into the top 10 guys. But at 31, the Columbus Blue Jackets select centerman Logan Stanchoven. He has a smaller frame, which is why some people are projecting him to even go in the middle of the second round. He has the skill and is very fast. He has a very fast-paced style to his game, which leads some people to think he could still be a top 15 pick. Again, this is what I'm talking about. He could be a top 15 pick, or it could be a mid-second round pick. That is just the way this draft is this year. So it's kind of just, shooting into the wind, just trying to see what hits the target. At number 30, the Montreal Canadiens go with the QMJHL boy, also nicknamed the Flying Frenchman. Yes, that's a thing. A talented stick handler, and he's a playmaker, and that happens to be Samuel Balduc. He's been playing in the QMJHL with the Rimouski Oceanic. Oh yeah, who's been there before? Sidney Crosby and former first overall picks as well as Alexis Lafreniere. So Samuel Balduc projected to be a pretty solid player. And again, the French connection, hard not to connect him with the Habs. At number 29, the Vegas Golden Knights select centerman Wyatt Johnston. Another guy in the OHL, top 6 center potential, and a creative playmaker. Again, the Golden Knights need some help down the middle. He's not necessarily going to help them this year, but for the future down the center core, this could be a guy in Wyatt Johnston that turns out to be a steal at number 29. At number 28, the New Jersey Devils pick from the New York Islanders. They select left shot defenseman Sean Behrens, playing in the U.S. National Team Development Program. Sean Behrens does lack the size, but he still has the potential to be a top 4 defenseman in the NHL. So there is still high praise for a guy like Sean Behrens. Moving on to number 27, the Colorado Avalanche select left winger Sasha Pastejov. He led the U.S. National Team Development Program in scoring last season. He has the NHL size, and he has a solid two-way game, obviously adding some more wingers to the core for the Colorado Avalanche, especially in the event that they lose a guy like Gabe Landeskog this summer. A guy like Sasha Pastejov would definitely add a little bit of help on the left side for the Avs. Moving on up to number 26, we got the Carolina Hurricanes as they're selecting right winger Simon Robertson. Simon Robertson played in the SHL last season, so he's already got a little experience playing against the big boys, and he's a good forechecker, and this is a guy that could kind of replace a guy like Brock McGinn in the bottom 6 for the Hurricanes, maybe even a middle 6 forward in a guy like Simon Robertson. The Minnesota Wild at number 25 select left shot defenseman Daniil Chayka. Daniil Chayka seems like a scorer here at this pick. A lot of people had him going in the top 15 earlier this year, but he struggled a little bit in the KHL and led some people to maybe draft him a little bit lower. He has good mobility. He moves the puck with a lot of confidence, which a lot of people like that poise that he has in his game, able to make good judgments and stuff like that. could be a good playoff performer as well. On the Minnesota Wild, you're going to see a theme here of selecting Russian guys, and Daniil Chayka at 25 fits that bill. At number 24, the Blue Jackets pick up forward Arttu Räty. Now, if I told you a year ago Arttu Räty would be in people's rankings as a late or early second round draft pick and Arttu Räty, nobody would believe me, because Arttu Räty was projected to go number 1 overall at last year's NHL draft. You go back 9 months ago after the Alexis Lafreniere draft, everybody was talking about Arttu Räty in 2021, and he has definitely lost a lot of his draft stock. He has a very hard, accurate shot. He drives into corners and isn't afraid to get in front of the net. Arttu Räty could still be a really good piece. And maybe not that elite number 1 center potential, but again, because of everything that's happened over the past year, maybe there's still a chance that he still has that potential. He just hasn't been consistently showing that elite talent, and that's why he dropped all the way down to number 24. At number 23, the Florida Panthers select a Finnish winger, Samu Tamala. Samu Tamala is a Finnish guy, again, fitting alongside guys like Alexander Barkov. He's got a quick shot. And he's a bit of a scoring threat. And this guy kind of reminds a lot of people of a guy like Jonathan Huberdeau in that sense. So Samu Tamala could be a really nice addition to the Florida Panthers. And say Samu Tamala 10 times in a row and see how it comes out each time. At number 22, I have the Red Wings going with an interesting pick here, as they're going to go with a goaltender here at number 22. They're going to go with Sebastian Cossa. This is a guy that a lot of people have. Some of them even have Sebastian Cossa ahead of Jesper Wallstedt in their draft rankings. But I have him here at number 22 to the Wings. The Red Wings get a guy that takes up a lot of the net, so he must be a big boy. And he has superb rebound control. So a lot of people are looking at that as a reason he could be an elite number 1 potential goaltender in the NHL. So we'll see what happens with Sebastian Cossa. But I have him going at number 22 to the Wings. At number 21, we've got the Minnesota Wild selecting Russian winger Nikita Chabrikov. And this is a good pick in terms of, the thing with Chabrikov is a lot of people have him going in the top 15, and I had him potentially going to the Blackhawks at number 11 in my most recent rankings. But a lot of people are starting to see that maybe dip a little bit, as some other guys have jumped him. Nikita Chabrikov at number 21 does seem like a good fit, and he fits with the Minnesota Wild and could potentially play alongside a guy like Kirill Kaprizov on the top line in the future. A lot of people are comparing him to be the potential next Artemi Panarin. So obviously there is a lot of expectation there. He has good speed. He's a shifty playmaker, which just adds to the value of the Russian winger Chabrikov. So now we move up to the top 20. The Boston Bruins select centerman Xavier Bourgeois. Bourgeois has a strong playmaker ability, and he also has that scoring threat on the ice. And I think Bourgeois could be a really nice piece to the Bruins as they kind of move away from guys like Patrice Bergeron, David Krejci, and the way they've kind of mixed things up over the next couple of years, especially down the center core. A guy like Bourgeois could help replenish the center depth in the organization for the Bees. So I like that pick. At number 19, the Oilers select centerman Francesco Pinelli. Now, a lot of people have him potentially going in the top 15 as well. He's a strong skater, and he also has very good hockey sense. You can't teach that. That's a little bit harder to teach. You can't teach skill. Good hockey sense, though, that does go a long way, and it may further his development, maybe a little quicker than some other guys around the league, or in this draft class for that matter. So there's that for number 19 for the Oilers, and they're probably going to want to take a center. You look at all the defensemen they have: Ethan Bear, Caleb Jones. They already traded, traded Caleb Jones, but they still have guys like Philip Broberg coming up, Dmitry Samorukov. They have a plethora of centers, so it would make sense for them to go with a centerman or maybe a goaltender, depending on how you think Ken Holland looked in that press conference the other day. But besides that, at number 18, the Nashville Predators, we know they are getting ready for a rebuild, so they're not going to be picking any particular positions. They're going to go with the best player, and this could be a steal at 18 for the Preds, selecting left winger Brennan Ottman. Now, Brennan Ottman has been playing on the top line alongside potentially the next 2 first overall picks in Shane Wright and Connor Bedard. So Brennan Ottman played very well with those two guys on his line. He has the potential to have a future in the top 6 as a left winger. He has that Switzerland. He had a really good season in the Switzerland Hockey League in his rookie season this year. He's going to take a little while to develop, but Brennan Ottman could be a really nice pickup for the Preds. At number 17, the Winnipeg Jets, you can assume they're going to take a defenseman. And a lot of people have Carson Lambos going in the top 10. A lot of people have him going around where I have him in the top 20. But Carson Lambos from the Winnipeg Ice, it's a perfect fit there. He has good size for an NHL game, and his effectiveness to be a mobile defenseman is just assets that everybody's looking for in their D-men today. A skating, puck-moving defenseman. That's a guy that Carson Lambos can be. And he also has that size that could land him into the NHL. Maybe not this fall. He's going to make a run in training camp. But I wouldn't be surprised if next year, if Carson Lambos gets into the lineup for the Winnipeg Jets blue line. All right, so moving on up to number 16, we have the St. Louis Blues centerman Cole Sillinger. He is projected to be a center, but he could be a left winger as well. We've seen a lot of guys like that, and he adds some center depth to the future for the St. Louis Blues. Yes, you've already got guys like Jordan Kyrou and Sammy Blais and stuff like that, but I really like what we've seen from Cole Sillinger. And like I said, he could jump on the wing worst case. And falling to number 16, you're taking the best player available here. This makes sense at 16 for the Blues. At number 15, moving into the top 15, the New York Rangers select forward Matt Coronado. Matty Coronado is from Huntington, New York, so he's going to pluck another Long Island boy, just like they did the Adam Norris or Adam Fox, who was from Carle Place, Long Island. Now they're going to take Huntington native Matt Coronado. He has a strong shot, and he was a part of that unbelievably stacked USHL team, the Chicago Steel. So Matt Coronado, was he a little bit of an effect of just how good that team was, or was he truly that good of a player? And I think we're going to find that out over the next couple of years. Number 14, the Dallas Stars select forward Isaac Rosen. Now, this may come off the board a little bit. A lot of people may have had maybe a guy like Cole Sillinger, like I had in my last rankings. But Isaac Rosen's stock has risen dramatically, and this may be a guy that finds himself in Dallas. He needs time to fill out his physique. That's one of the bigger things. He needs to bulk up a little bit. But he is a terrific skater, and he has a very accurate shot. And as a centerman, again, you're looking at the Dallas Stars. You've got aging guys on that team in that core. Radulov, Ben, Sagan, Pavelski. Those guys are getting older. You're going to need more forwards to round out that team. And I don't know how comfortable they feel with guys like Radek Faksa, Jason Dickinson. Well, Jason Dickinson's now in Vancouver. But how much can they rely on guys like Robertson and Roope Hintz next season? They may need more help in the future, and Isaac Rosen could help that for the Dallas Stars. Moving on up to number 13, we have the Philadelphia Flyers selecting Russian forward Fyodor Svechkov. Now, a lot of people have him going later in the first round. I still have him in the top 15 here at 13 to the Flyers. He has a very strong defensive game, probably one of the best defensive forwards in this draft class. He's a versatile all-around player, and I think a guy like Svechkov could definitely find himself in the top 15. If he's lucky, maybe even in the top 10. So now we look at the Calgary Flame selecting right winger Fabian Lysell with their 12th overall draft pick. He has high skill and a very offensive forward. He struggled against older competition in Europe, but Fabian Lysell still brings a lot to the table in terms of his skill and his offensive output. And that's what teams are looking for around the league, especially a team like the Calgary Flames. They've already got some good young forwards in their core, guys like Perreault coming up, Connor Zary. So you're adding to that pool by bringing in Fabian Lysell, and I think that's really what you're looking for if you're the Calgary Flames with this pick. Moving on up to number 11, the Chicago Blackhawks take the first goaltender here in the NHL entry draft with Jesper Wallstedt from Luleå. He has an excellent pro potential as a starting goaltender in the league. potentially elite. His confidence and his rebound control are off the charts and lead a lot of people to believe that he could be the first goaltender to be selected in this year's draft. And the Chicago Blackhawks have a need for goaltending. They had a storybook run from Kevin Lankinen last year. They have guys like Colin Delia. They have Malcolm Subban. But behind that, not much in the pipeline. I would not be surprised if the Blackhawks are the first team to select the goaltender, that being Jesper Wallstedt. And because the Red Wings would be hopefully selecting a guy like Sebastian Cossa at 22, now the Red Wings select somebody else at number 6, and it allows Wallstedt to fall out of the top 10 to number 11 for the Blackhawks. So now moving up to the top 10, as the Ottawa Senators will select centerman from the U.S. National Team Development Program, Chaz Lucius. Lucius is an easy option here at 10 for the Senators. He's the most gifted goal scorer in this year's draft class. He overcame a lot of injuries in 2020 in the 2020-2021 season, and he's really his draft stock has risen a lot this year. So Chaz Lucius gets in the top 10. At number 9, the Vancouver Canucks select centerman from the University of Michigan. We're going to be hearing that a lot in the top 10. It's Kent Johnson. Kent Johnson is from the Western BC area in Western Vancouver in BC. So again, the hometown boy coming back to Vancouver. He has the best hands in the draft according to a lot of scouts. Kent Johnson is that guy that could just fill out that roster. They've already got guys like Petey. They've got guys like Horvat. But you can't have enough centers in this league. And at worst case, he could jump to the wing if you really need him to. But this is a no-brainer at number 9 for the Vancouver Canucks. Moving on up to number 8, this is a steal for the LA Kings. The fact that the Kings did not win the draft lottery, it doesn't really matter. They could still select their guy at number 8 that they may have selected at number 2 or hell, even number 3. And that means at number 8, the Kings select defenseman Brant Clark. Brant Clark played with the Barrie Colts in the OHL, and he has a high amount of potential. Remember a guy that went first overall from the Barrie Colts back in the day? Oh yeah, Aaron Ekblad. And a lot of people are comparing to him to that same kind of game. Brant Clark is an offensive-minded defenseman, but he is a little bit of an awkward skater, which a lot of people were concerned about the skating of Aaron Ekblad back in the day, but he still turned out to be a pretty good defenseman. So, again, Brant Clark, it's not the typical, prototypical guy, but this is a guy that, again, at 8 is just a no-brainer for the Kings. I think at 7, 8, and 9 in this year's draft, those teams, the Sharks, the Kings, and the Canucks, they are just going to get the pickings of whatever the other teams don't select. So that could be a bad thing, but if you look at it in the sense of, well, we can't go wrong here, we're going to take what's there, it's a no-brainer for those teams. And that's why at number 7, we have the San Jose Sharks, and Doug Wilson stepping up to the podium and selecting centerman Mason McTavish from the OHL's Peterborough Petes. Mason McTavish is a coveted power center in the NHL with an NHL potential future. He has the elite package of skill and size, which could land him in the NHL. Maybe not this year. He'll probably go to the OHL's Peterborough Petes for one more season. But in year 2 of his development after getting selected from the Sharks, don't be surprised if McTavish ends up in the Sharks lineup. The Sharks need some centers. And maybe not right now because you've got Logan Couture, you've got Tomas Hertl. But over the next couple of years, as their contracts kind of become an issue, maybe we see buyouts, maybe we see trading of those players, Mason McTavish can fill right into that top 6 in the future for the Sharks. And this seems like a guy that has a little bit of a different dimension to the center core we've seen in San Jose for the last couple of years in Couture and Hertl, who are much more speed game minded, skill minded, and definitely different from a guy like McTavish. And that means at number 6, the Detroit Red Wings, because they didn't select Wallstedt, we see them pick up defenseman Simon Edvinsson. He is still a very raw talent, and that's one of the knocks on Simon Edvinsson. A lot of people had him going top 3, and now that's slipped down a little bit, maybe to a top 10, top 15 draft pick. But I still have Edvinsson at number 6 here. I think this is a great pick. Obviously, Steve Yzerman knows his European guys very well, and I think Simon Edvinsson fits that bill. To build around the defensive core that they already have with guys like Troy Stecher, who's there. They did lose Dennis Cholowski, which kind of stinks, but you got Troy Stecher. You have a guy, that everybody, we're not sure what Moritz Seider is, but you've got Moritz Seider, you've got Simon Edvinsson. That's a pretty solid that's a pretty good top defensive pair. So we'll see how that works out for the Red Wings, but I like the Red Wings taking a defenseman. I know a lot of Red Wings fans want to see them take one of the wingers or somebody else, but I think Simon Edvinsson just works in Detroit. And that means at number 5, the Blue Jackets select William Eckland. Now, William Eckland is an interesting pick here. A lot of people, it reminds them a lot of Alexander Holt, who was selected by the New Jersey Devils last year. William Eckland has great hockey sense. He is a little bit on the smaller side, but the Blue Jackets haven't been afraid of that in the past. You look at who they've selected in the past. I mean, look at a guy like Alex Texier. He's not one of the taller guys, and look how good he's done. So size isn't everything, and I think we're going to see the Blue Jackets go here at number 5 with William Eckland. So now we move up into the top 4, and this is where things get really not much different than where I've had them in the past. But the New Jersey Devils select left shot defenseman Luke Hughes. He's from the U.S. National Team Development Program. He's a very strong skating blue liner. He has offensive potential, which a lot of teams are looking for that, as well as he is the youngest elite potential player in this year's draft class. So Luke Hughes definitely bringing a little bit of the younger, smaller frame to the game, but he has that skill and speed, and a lot of people, including the New Jersey Devils, will definitely take notice to that. I don't think this is a slam dunk pick here for the Devils at number 4. We've heard guys like Dylan Genscher, Dylan Gunther, whatever you want to call him, Dylan Gunther. We've heard William Eckland. We've heard Mason McTavish potentially going in the top 3. So that may make things more interesting at 4 for the Devils. But Luke Hughes seems like a good bet at number 4 for the Devs. And that means we're moving up to the top 3. And I had to wear my Mighty Ducks jersey. And number 3, we're looking at the Anaheim Ducks selecting right winger from the WHL's Edmonton Oil Kings, Dylan Genscher, or Dylan Gunther. He led the WHL in goals as a rookie last season. He has a pro-release shot and top 6 offensive winger potential. And Dylan Gunther adds that scoring touch that the Ducks desperately lacked last season. And Dylan Gunther could come back to the NHL, or could come to the NHL this fall. Now, do I think that's likely? Probably not, but the way he plays and the need for more scoring up front for the Ducks may just entice Bob Murray to say, you know what? Dylan Gunther fits our mold right now. And considering the Ducks had the worst power play in the NHL last year, they don't necessarily need defensemen, even though that's like nails on a chalkboard to me. They do need defensemen. The need for scoring in the NHL, not only for the Ducks, but in general, we've seen almost every team is needing more scoring. And I think Dylan Gunther is a huge punch in the lineup for the Ducks and just a really good ad. So despite going down from 2 to 3, I don't think the Ducks really lose out on a guy that they could have gotten. So what that means at number 2, the expansion Seattle Kraken, with their first pick in the NHL entry draft in franchise history, they select Centerman from the University of Michigan. I told you I was going to say that team again. From the University of Michigan, Matty Beniers. He has top 6 center potential. He has sneaky good skill. And the thing about Matt Beniers is this is a guy that has been compared to potentially a guy like Patrice Bergeron. His two-way game is very well. He's a 300-foot player. He can play on both sides of the rink, a good back checker. Matt Beniers would be a perfect blue chip center prospect for the Seattle Kraken to build their forward core around. And I think a guy like Matt Beniers is exactly what they need there down the middle. And we saw that in the expansion draft, it was hard to find good centers. You're talking about Yanni Gourde as your first line center. That's not necessarily a recipe for success. Now again, there's still free agency. They could still pluck somebody up like a Philip Deneau or somebody like that. But even that's not a top-line center. Matt Beniers has that potential to be a very good center. And the way he plays, it leads to success in a playoff run. And that's the kind of guy that, could be difficult to play against. This is a slam dunk pick for the Seattle Kraken at number 2. And then that means at number 1, I told you I was going to say it a couple times. I still have one more in me. The Buffalo Sabres are proud to select left shot defenseman from the University of Michigan. Okay, I promise. We're at the first pick. This is the last time I'll say it. From the University of Michigan, Owen Power. Owen Power is projected to be the tallest number 1 pick ever in NHL entry draft history, ahead of Matt Sundin. He's a top pair potential defenseman, and Owen Power has the little mix of everything. He has the big size, but he's got the ability to control the game in front of him. Not necessarily, he's not this big wonky guy that can't skate and is just a defensive shutdown defenseman. No, he has the whole package, and a lot of people are comparing him to Victor Hedman. And the Buffalo Sabres, you add a guy like you have guys like Rasmus Dahlin, and you have a guy like Owen Power. There's success screaming in Buffalo, because when you add a guy like Owen Power, this is the guy they need. Now, it's likely that he goes back to the University of Michigan next season alongside teammates Matt Beniers and Kent Johnson, but Owen Power is worth the wait here at the number 1 pick for the Sabres. Even if he doesn't play next fall, it doesn't matter. This is a guy you can build your defense around with Rasmus Dahlin, mind you. And I just think this is too good of an opportunity. Owen Power has pretty much solidified himself as the number 1 pick. A lot of people had Beniers and Genscher in that conversation, but it seems like Owen Power has solidified that spot. Now that we've heard names like McTavish and Hughes jump into the potential top 3 conversation, it's murkied the waters. But at number 1, it seems to have stayed the same with Owen Power. So that is it. I'll leave you guys real quick with a recap of this long half-hour video. I told you guys it was going to be long. I told you we're going to talk about the University of Michigan a lot. And I promise you that it would be as good of a video as I could do here ahead of the entry draft. Guys, the entry draft is tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching this video. The channel has been blowing up, and it has really given me a lot of, instead of being complacent and like, all right, I like what's happening, I'm going to step off the gas a little bit. It's created more hunger in me to create content for you guys, because you guys have been blowing it up. We've had so many subscribers recently. The watch time and the views have been the highest they've been in the past year, potentially in the entire channel. And a lot of that, yes, I have to make the videos, I have to edit them and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you guys are the ones that actually watch the videos, like them, comment, and all of that. I couldn't be here without you guys, and I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching this video. And guys, enjoy the entry draft either today or tomorrow, depending on when you watch this video. I'll see you guys later.